Today we'll be making crispy roasted potatoes with pan-seared lamb chops. Lamb chops are going to be nice and juicy, and the potatoes are crisp on the outside and soft on the inside. We'll start with the potatoes as they are going to take longer to cook. We are going to need some smoked paprika, or Cajun will work also, black pepper, baking soda, garlic, butter, and obviously some potatoes. We'll first start by washing the potatoes thoroughly, especially if you plan on leaving the skins on. For me, I'm going to peel mine for today. I'm gripping the potatoes firmly and doing it in one long stroke at a time. Beware of your fingers while peeling. I'm not the greatest at peeling stuff, so if there's any tips and tricks for peeling not just potatoes, anything in general, leave it in the comments down below. Once you have finished peeling all of the potatoes, then we'll start to hack up the potatoes into chunks. Here's a tip to secure the board on the counter to prevent it from slipping. Get a paper towel or any towel and damp it up a bit, and then place your board on top so it won't slide around. I'm using russets for today, and I'm going to halve the potatoes, then into quarters and into chunks. Depending on the potato you use and the size of it, adjust accordingly. To cook the potatoes, get yourself a pot and add in some water and turn on the heat. And to that still cold pot, add in the potatoes with some baking soda and salt and give it a mix. We're adding in the potatoes while the water isn't boiling, just so if you drop the potatoes and you splash yourself, it isn't boiling hot water. While waiting for the water to boil, in the meantime, get some garlic and mince them up, and then transfer the garlic into a bowl. When you're done, go ahead and preheat the oven to 200 degrees Celsius. And don't let the potatoes boil over like I did here, it made a big mess. But yeah, turn down the heat when it's boiling. I just didn't notice it just now. The potatoes are done when they can be poked through with little to no resistance from a knife. Afterwards, drain the potatoes through a gap from the lid so you don't have to use a colander, which saves you from more dishes to wash. Once you have finished draining the potatoes, let it sit in a still hot pot to steam off the excess moisture. In a separate pan, add in some oil and the minced garlic and turn the heat on low and let it slowly fry to release its aroma. When the garlic has turned brown and crisp, turn off the heat and add in a knob of butter and strain. We're adding in the butter last to number 1, cool down the oil, and secondly, if we add it at the start, the milk solids inside the butter may burn, and keeping it last will make the butter a bit more pronounced. Do not discard the crispy garlic as we'll be using it later for the potatoes. Coat the potatoes in the aroma oil and toss it around to mix it. Be rough with it. Let it build up a layer of fluff around the potatoes, and that is what will make the potatoes crispier after roasting. Make sure to spread the potatoes evenly in a single layer on the baking sheet and leave some space between them. This is where you add in some fresh herbs such as rosemary or thyme, but I don't have any, so I'll be leaving them out and just add some garlic instead. Let me just readjust the camera real quick. And afterwards, place them into the oven for 20 minutes. While waiting, we'll work on the crispy garlic by adding in some smoked paprika, a few cracks of black pepper, parsley, salt, and give it a good mix. After the first 20 minutes, take out the potatoes and give them a good flip onto the other side. Give them love and care by flipping them all individually. Trust me, you'll be rewarded. If there's pieces of smaller potatoes that might burn, you could take them out now. Once they are flipped, give it another 20 to 30 minutes in the oven till they are nice and crispy. I'm serving the potatoes with some simple pan-seared lamb chops, so that is what I'll be working on while the potatoes are roasting. You can serve it with anything that you like. I'm seasoning the lamb on both sides generously with salt and fresh cracked black pepper. None of those pre-cracked ones. Freshly cracked pepper will have a better taste, as when you crack black peppers, it will start to oxidize and will diminish its pungent peppery taste. Make sure the seasonings cover all sides of the meat and don't season too lightly, as the chops are decently thick. The insides won't be seasoned unless you salt them overnight. What happens is, the salt will first draw out the moisture and then it will be soaked back into the meat and seasoning throughout the inside. But I didn't do that, so I'm just letting it sit while I preheat my cast iron pan. Cast iron pans are great for searing meats as they can retain the heat for a longer period of time compared with other pans. When you put anything into a pan, it will reduce the temperature, but for cast iron skillet, the effects are reduced. However, it does take a while for the pan to get hot and cast iron doesn't heat up evenly, so you have to let it slowly preheat. When the pan is nice and preheated, make sure to use a towel or glove as the handle of the pan is hot. No oil is needed, and I'm just going to lay the lamb chops fat side down so the fat will render out. Make sure to not overcrowd the pan. After a while, lay the lamb down and don't touch it. Leave it there for a minute 30 seconds to 2 minutes or so. After that, flip them around and you see the beautiful crust which have formed. That right there is the Maillard reaction, which gives the meat its distinctive flavor. This first batch of chops I flipped just a tad bit too early, but doesn't matter, it'll taste good anyways. I'll show you a better example of the crust later on the other batch. What you're going to do after flipping for 30 seconds, add in some garlic and butter and give it a good baste. If you have some fresh herbs such as rosemary or thyme, you could add it in right now. Basting the meat essentially will ensure more even cooking throughout. When they are done searing, take them out and continue with the other pieces of lamb. Now this is the batch that I was talking about earlier, and you see the beautiful crust that has formed. All of that is flavor. On the later batches, you'll see a lot of fat has rendered out, so you could either take it out every time or just use the fat render to baste and cook the lamb in. After all of the lamb has been seared, put them onto a baking sheet and into an oven preheated to 180 Celsius for a while till your preferred doneness. I'm shooting for 63 degrees internal temperature, which is medium. Since I forgot to hit record when I'm taking out the potatoes, so what you're gonna do is once they have been taken out, add in the crispy garlic mixture and mix it around. Cook the lamb to however you like, and you could do the hand trick on telling the doneness of the meat, but I prefer to just use a thermometer if you have it, as is 100% accurate. Insert the thermometer into the thickest part of the lamb to check its temperature. If it's 1 to 2 degrees lower than your target, you could take it out as the residual heat from the meat will slowly coast to your target. Let the meat rest for at least 5 minutes, so when you slice it, the juices won't leak out as much. You could serve the lamb in its bone or sliced off, depend on your preference. Will you just look at that? The meat is juicy and it's pink, just how I like it. So there you have it, pan-seared lamb chops with some crispy roasted potatoes. Granted, they could have been better with fresh herbs such as rosemary, but you gotta work with what you got. The edges of the potatoes are rough and crackly, which gives it the extra crunch. Serve it on your next Sunday roast and I'm sure everybody will be happy. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.